Hi there, Daisy. Nice to see that you've written a new set of essays for us. So let's take a look at this. This is the one about local food and whether it's better for the environment and economy if we ate only local food. So let's see what you said here. Due to modernization and globalization, people in different countries are able to enjoy varieties of foods from all over the world in all seasons. This has led to, careful here, I don't know why you hit return. You shouldn't have. This should have been part of the same paragraph. So this has led to experts throughout both the developing and developed world to debate. It has led somebody to do something. Whether locally produced food or imported food is better. Some people claim that local food should be preferred over food which has been transported from far-off places because it is more environmentally friendly and is beneficial for the local and national economy as well. Although I agree with this notion, I also believe that the value of imported food cannot be denied. All right, interesting. Let's see how you actually develop this. Okay. On the one hand, there is ample evidence to suggest that the transportation of food is detrimental to the environment. Okay, the central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, many food imports, such as fruit, are transported thousands of miles by road, sea, and air, increasing pollution from exhaust fumes. This causes considerable damage to the environment. There will be a massive reduction in the consumption of oil if people start preferring locally grown food. Secondly, transporting food is putting the local farmers into the competition. That's awkward. You don't put someone into competition. Is creating competition for local farmers. That sounds better. So transported food is creating competition for local farmers, and they are forced to produce more items at a lower cost and hence increasing the use of chemical fertilizers, weedicides, and insecticides. For example, recent empirical research by the UK government demonstrated that there has been a 20% increase in the use of chemicals by the local farmers over the last 2 decades. Furthermore, consuming local produce will definitely boost local economy, which in turn will help the economic growth of a country. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that local food has many advantages over imported ones. All right, let's take a look at this paragraph a little more. Okay, so I have to be honest with you that I'm a little confused about what the central idea to this paragraph is. It's really not clear because your first statement in your introduction, in your paragraph was that there's ample evidence that transportation of food is detrimental to the environment. Therefore, this leads somebody to believe that you're going to talk about how local food is better for the environment. But then the whole paragraph doesn't in fact talk about that. First, you talk about why imported food is bad. Then you talk about how transporting food is okay, and then here you talk about again why imported food is causing even local food to be less healthy, and then here you talked about consuming local produce will boost the local economy. So I didn't understand where that fit in at all. Okay. It's like you were arguing this by arguing what's wrong with the other side, and that didn't quite work. So I was a little confused about this paragraph. And you know what? A lot of people do this. A lot of people, do you know what they do? They try to tell you, let's see, how can I put it to you in a way that makes sense? They try to tell you, for example, that the color white, for example, is good by explaining to you what's wrong with black. Okay? And that's not entirely true. Just because something might be wrong with the color black, it doesn't make white good. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So if you want to explain why the color white is better or you prefer it more, then you have to support and explain what is good about the color white. And you don't do that by saying what's wrong with the color black. I hope that makes sense. That's exactly what I'm trying to say here. So by telling me what's wrong with transported food only, you're not helping me you're not helping to tell me what's good about local food. There are other things you could say just about local food without specifying what's wrong with transported food. I really hope that made sense. Let's see. On the other hand, although there is a case for local food market being environmental, Although there is a case for the local food market being environmentally, ALLY, safe and helping in economic growth, the impact of imported food cannot be overstated. This is largely because there is a limit to the kind of food that can be grown in each place. For instance, fruits like apples and grapes can only be grown in cold climates. Okay. If people eat only what is available in their region, their choices will be limited. Consistent with this line of thinking is that in some areas of the world, cultivation may not be possible either because of infertile soil or climatic conditions being unfavorable. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that the role of international food cannot be ignored. Okay, I want to talk about this paragraph. First, let's get to your conclusion, and then we'll talk about it. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that people should prefer locally grown food over imported food because it will certainly benefit the environment and the local economy. Even so, in my opinion, eating locally cultivated food alone is not a viable option because it will seriously limit the food choices people have. Okay. So I wanted to get through that first, and then we can talk about this essay more in detail. Let's look at the topic. Some people think it would be better for the environment and economy if we eat only local food. Okay, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So it looks like you disagree. Okay, so for that reason, you should have taken this paragraph, which talks about eating only local food. Okay, you should have talked about that first, I think. So, and in this paragraph, what you needed to say was you needed to make it more clear that your reservation and that your objection is with the word only local food. So, what am I saying here? Although I agree with this notion, I believe that the value of imported food cannot be denied, as local food alone is not enough. Okay, so something like that, really bringing this point home that local food is great, but it's just not going to do the job. Okay, so then you could have talked about, I would have started with this paragraph, all right, saying that you said the impact of imported food cannot be overstated. I don't want you to focus so much on imported food. I want you instead here to focus on the fact that local food is not enough. Again, it's the idea of talking about white and not black. You're not arguing what's wrong with black, but you have to say that, you know, that the local food is just not enough. It doesn't give enough variety. It certainly can't be sustained. It's not sustainable. So there are a lot of things you can't say. There's a lot of things you can say here. So I would have started with this, okay? And then you would start with what I think is your stronger paragraph, which talks about why it is important to support local food, okay? So then here you could say that despite the fact that local food is not enough, there are certain arguments that exist in favor of promoting local food in our markets. Okay? And then you could talk about two things. Number one, you can talk about how environmentally local food is better. Okay? All these things about emissions through transport being pumped into our atmosphere. And then you're going to talk about economically why local food is better. So basically, you are supporting your local economy. You're supporting your local farmer rather than supporting some farmer in some country far, far, far away. Okay, you're supporting your local farmer who then turns around to your community and supports local goods and services. And so it just boosts up the local economy. So these are some of the things I would have preferred to hear here. Some ideas that you could have dealt with a little more, because I felt like, as I said here before, it felt like you were arguing what's wrong with imported food, even though that's not what they asked you. Okay, so I hope a lot of this made sense. I've spent a ton of time on this. I hope what I've said so far has been clear. Let's take a look at these chips manufactured in France. The bar graph. It's actually a bar chart, but okay. The bar chart illustrates the number of chips sold in thousands by two companies, Intel and AMD, in France in the year 2017. Overall, it is clear from the overall, it is clear from the image, or it is clear from the diagram, that Intel and AMD had maximum sales in June and February, respectively. While April and July showed the least sales for Intel, AMD had no sales for the month of June. All right. That's fine. I don't know if you had to go into so much detail. You could have, but you could have stopped here, quite frankly. But that's fine. More precisely, Intel started off selling 50,000 chips in January and climbed steadily to just under 100,000 in March. This figure fluctuated before rising to a peak of about 125,000 in June. From then on, however, the sales plummeted to a low of nearly 25,000 in July. The sales increased gradually after July and leveled off in the next few months before climbing to a second peak of over 100,000 in November, with a slight drop towards the end of the year. That's lovely. That is such a nice representation. I didn't even have to look at the graph. I felt pretty confident that your data was accurate. You picked the key points, okay? You told me what happened in the beginning. You told me what happened at the end. You told me some key points in the middle, so I'm actually really quite happy with that paragraph, okay? Okay, next paragraph. In contrast, the sales of AMD were almost half of Intel's. You should have had a possessive here. At the beginning of the year, 25,000. The figures rose steeply. That's awkward. Rose dramatically would have been nice. To peak at about 125,000 in the next month before crashing down to nearly no sales in June. The sales jumped rapidly to almost 4 times the sales of Intel in July. It's a little awkward, but okay. Reaching a high of over 100,000 before declining to a low of almost 5,000 in November. The figures improved marginally, but were, because it's the figures, were still 1/3 of Intel sales by the end of the period given, 30,000. Let's see. Yep, it's clear. I liked it. It was a nice task one. You covered all the key points. I felt pretty confident about your data. I felt like I had a nice image of what was going on. You picked some of the key points here. Rather than giving me 24 pieces of information, you gave me the most important ones. You grouped some of your information together. So it was really, really nicely done. Okay, good job there. Good work. I spent a lot of time on your task too, so I feel like you should have a lot of food for thought there on how you can improve your task 2. Your task 1, however, was really quite good. So go ahead and correct these, and let's see what you write in your next set. Alrighty? Good luck.